Hello ladies and gents, how you doing? Welcome to another video from Mr. Michael's channel for extraordinary young people just like you. Today we are focusing upon the O-Level English Language Exam, paper number 1, part 1, which is called Directed Writing. We are continuing with speeches. This is the third part of a 3-part series on speeches, so if you haven't watched the first 2, you should go and do that before watching this one. Now, here are your learning objectives for today's lesson. The first thing that we will do, as per usual, is we will review some vocabulary that we've previously studied. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to focus on some language. We're going to talk about complex sentences. The third thing that we're going to do is production phase number 1, and that is also about complex sentences. The fourth thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at a new past paper question, and you are going to plan and prepare for that question. And finally, we will do the last production phase of this series. You will be given a new past paper question, and then you will have to answer it using all of the information that's been presented in the last 3 videos. But before we get started, let's do some retrieval practice. Please write down the 3 words on the screen and write next to them a definition or a synonym to show that you know what they mean. Please try to do that from your memory rather than checking the dictionary. Do that now, please. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, the first word is impassable, and impassable is an adjective, and it means that something is obstructed. It's not possible for you to pass down a road or a highway or something along those lines. It's blocked, it's obstructed. The second word is procession. Procession is a noun, and that means a ceremonial parade. The third word is vulnerable. Vulnerable is also an adjective, and if somebody is vulnerable, that means that they are in danger or they are at risk. So if I go out in the sun in the middle of the day, I am vulnerable to sunburn. We have focused so far in these videos on the structure, how we structure our pieces of writing. But remember that in the O-Level English Language Exam, paper 1, part 1, directed writing, you are also given a mark for the quality of your language. So your language has to be high quality in order for you to achieve an A grade. And one of the ways that you can improve the quality of your language and therefore improve your language mark is to use complex sentences. The marking scheme for the O-Level exam speaks about a variety of sentence structures. Therefore, if you can use the 3 different types of sentences that I've shown you on the screen here, your language score will increase. The first type of sentence I want you to focus upon is called a relative clause. Let me read the example to you. The Footy shoe shop, which is located in the mall, stocks some of the newest shoes on the market. And the second sentence says, Cristiano Ronaldo, who recently rejoined Manchester United, earns more than £20 million a year. Now, a relative clause is when we add an additional piece of information to a sentence surrounded by commas, and we also use a relative pronoun, which in these 2 sentences are which and who, but can also be that. If you read the 2 examples without the section in red, you will realize that the sentence still makes sense. The Footy shoe shop stocks some of the newest shoes on the market. Therefore, these relative clauses are used to add additional information, and they also change the structure of the sentence, so it's a good idea to try to use these in your writing. The second type of complex sentence I would recommend is called a conditional sentence, and it begins with if. If you want to ensure a customer stays loyal to your company, it is important to provide good customer service. And you will see that there are 2 clauses in this sentence separated by a comma. So in order to improve your language score, try to use a conditional sentence, at least one, when you're writing. And the third type of complex sentence I'd like to introduce you to is what I'm going to call an although sentence. Look at the example here. Although the prices are not cheap, customers are prepared to travel due to the excellent service they receive. This is another sentence structure that you can use, and you should try to incorporate it in your writing. So let's move on to production phase number 1. I want you to write 2 sentences containing relative clauses, 2 if sentences, and 2 although sentences. And can you please relate them to the past paper question, which you can see on the screen now? Feel free to look up relative clauses, conditional sentences, and although sentences on the internet if you want an additional bit of support. That's no problem. Pause the video and do that now, please. In 3, 2, 1. Now, the next part of the lesson involves this question here. This is a past paper style question. It's a question that I have written myself in the style of the O-Level English Language Exam. So pause the video now and just read through the question, please. In 3, 2, 1. Now that you've read it, I'm going to read it to you to make sure you understand what's required of you. During the recent school holiday, you ran your first 10-kilometer race. It was an exhausting experience. Your teacher has asked you to make a speech in assembly about the experience. Write your speech. It must include the following: the reasons why you decided to run the race, and the type of training you had to do to prepare, whether or not you enjoyed the race day and why, and the lessons that you learnt from the whole experience. Cover all 3 points above in detail. You should make your speech interesting and informative. Start your speech. Good morning, everyone. Okay, here's some retrieval practice for you. How many minutes should you spend planning? Can you remember this from the previous video? Have a think, pause the video now. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you remember in the previous video, I said that 3 minutes planning is optimal. 5 minutes planning is acceptable. More than 5 minutes is detrimental. So therefore, your optimal time, the best possible amount of time you can spend for planning is 3 minutes. It's acceptable for you to use 5 minutes for planning, but anything more than that is going to have a negative impact upon your writing. Remember that you only have 45 minutes to write the entire piece of writing. Therefore, the absolute maximum spent on planning should be approximately 5 minutes. So that leads us on to production phase number 2. I want you now to plan your response, plan your answer to this question. Spend between 3 and 5 minutes doing that. Use the format, use the structure that we presented in the first video of this series. Please pause the video and do that now. In 3, 2, 1. Once you've planned it, then you'll be no surprise to see that we're going to move on to production phase number 3, which is I want you to answer the past paper question above. Now you have 45 minutes in total, but if you want to keep this exam-like, then you've already used 5 minutes for your planning, right? So therefore you would only have approximately 40 minutes or so to do the writing. And I would suggest that at the end of your writing period, you give yourself some time to edit, to look over the writing that you've done and try to correct some of the errors, some of the language mistakes, because remember, there is a grade for the accuracy of your language. You are instructed to use the structure that we've studied in the previous videos and also include some of the complex sentences that we studied earlier in this video. Please pause the video and do that now. In 3, 2, 1. I hope you've completed that. Now, here's a bit of a gift for you. Instead of me providing you with feedback on your writing, because I can't do that obviously, here's a model answer. Here's an answer that I've written to that past paper question that you can use and assess your own piece of writing against. Please pause the video and have a read through that now. In 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Right, let's move on to the plenary. First of all, what is a relative clause? Can you provide me with an example, please? Number 2, how many words should a piece of directed writing contain? And number 3, can you tell me a synonym for the word impassable? If you can do all of those, then you've learned something from this video, and that's good. So thank you very much. That's the end of the series on speech writing. Please watch out for more videos coming in the future. Thanks for your time. Take it easy. Goodbye.